This is a story about love and hate, a story about trust and despair, a story about the internet and how it can be actually turned into a weapon. This is my story. My name is Richard Gutjahr, and according to what you can read on Google or Facebook about me, I'm a terrorist. I'm a mass murderer. I'm a member of a secret society called the New World Order. A little while ago, my family and I, we moved to southern France. We found ourselves a beautiful place, like near the city of Nice. We lived that kind of a French life that we always dreamed of, like with our little kids picking up the French language. Bonjour maman, bonjour papa. It was just beautiful. It was living in a dream, until that very dream turned into a nightmare. It was over July 14th last year, the French National Day, and we decided to take a hotel at the seaside in order to watch the festivities, the parades, the great fireworks. So I was standing on the balcony of that hotel and taking pictures with my smartphone while my wife took the children downstairs to the street because they wanted to buy balloons across the street. And I was filming, and I'm showing you some footage of what I was filming, and maybe you remember that day then. Under the sound of massive gunfire from outside, my wife and the children made it back to the hotel room, miraculously unharmed. They locked themselves into the bathroom while I was heading downstairs in order to find out what was going on. I'm a journalist, after all. That is my job. So the pictures downstairs in the lobby, they were just horrifying. People covered in blood, people in shock, and outside the building there were bodies lying on the street. 86 people died that night. Hundreds were injured, thousands were traumatized by the truck plowing through the crowds. Only 8 days later, I was back in Munich, the city where I grew up and where I work. Every other night, I present the news at the news channel, public German television. So I was back in Munich. I actually, initially, I wanted to take a break, but then I thought, maybe, you go back into your daily routine. That might help to get over those images that are haunting you. So I was sitting in the car when all of a sudden my eldest daughter called me. And she said, "Dad, I'm at the local shopping mall and there are gunshots." It was only 10 minutes later I found myself at the very entrance of that shopping mall. My daughter called me up again and she said she made it to her grandmother's house, which is nearby, so she was safe and sound. And me standing in front of a shopping mall surrounded by heavy armed police forces. 10 people died that day. Hundreds were injured by a mass panic. The whole city of Munich was in a lockdown for hours. And here I was yet again in the middle of it all, reporting. Little did we know, my family and I, that the real terror for us was yet about to begin. And it began harmless, like very unspectacular. It began with a few tweets that popped up at the very next morning, like on our social media accounts. Now, those messages popped up and became wilder and wilder in our own private accounts. There were people claiming, from all over the world, that we, my family and I, were actually Mossad agents, and we conducted those crimes, those acts of terror, and that we are actually part of a secret elitist society who wants to overthrow the world. Now, I'm a journalist, I'm familiar with shitstorms, but this really was beyond any regular shitstorms. This was a shit tsunami. And just that you understand how it feels like when your name pops up every morning when you open your Twitter, your Facebook, or even YouTube. Here's just a little glimpse on all the videos that you still find online when you Google my name.
Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan. Richard Gutjahr is a fan.
Richard Gutjahr, one of the most talked about names in the last few weeks on social media.
He is actually a German journalist. His wife is a current Israeli politician.
Ora, questo giornalista è sposato con una ex parlamentare israeliana e ha lavorato alla CNN di Washington.
And it gets even juicier. She's an ex-Mossad agent. That's Israeli intelligence, people.
You must be wondering who this pretty-looking young woman is. You cannot make this shit up. The daughter of Richard Gutjahr.
Let me tell you something, little girl. You're a bitch. And your father does not love you. And we were talking about the fake Munich attack, the fake Nice attack, among so many fake attacks. Richard Gutjahr is a traitor to humanity. Expose him for being the liar and the treasonous bastard that he is.
Richard Gutjahr, you are done. Watching you go down will be fun. Richard Gutjahr.
Just a quick message for our boy Richie. Richie. Because I know you're watching this, Rich. And just so you understand, if you're going to proceed with your actions, you do know the repercussions, don't you? Your daughter, hint, hint. You, hint, hint.
This is a war. If you're listening to this, Richard Gutjahr, welcome to your hell.
This family has no shame, people. This is a traitorous criminal family.
This is going to follow them around for the rest of their stupid lives.
When you become the target of conspiracy theorists, there are several stages that you go through. In the beginning, we're just trying to ignore this. My wife and I, we said, let's keep a low profile, so no Twitter, no Facebook. For online junkie, for me, this was like cold turkey, but it was doable. Guess what? That didn't work. Because the longer we kept silent, the wilder those accusations actually became. And all of a sudden, even friends, relatives, co-workers started to ask me questions such as, well, Richard, if you're like really innocent, why don't you speak up? Now, if I would speak up, of course, they would say, yeah, all right, he claims to be innocent. Everybody who's guilty would say so. So you see the problem here, right? No matter what you're doing in such a situation, it's going to be worse. It's a Kafkaesque situation. So the weeks and months went on, and the rumors and the accusations became even wilder. So we're facing the second stage of what you go through, humor. You cannot help sometimes to face insanity with humor. Here's a blogger who claims that actually the Oslo bomber, like Anders Breivik, he didn't do it. It was actually me who killed those 77 teenagers back then in Norway. And how did young Sherlock find that out? Telling you, because of the similarity of our ears. Why didn't the police see that? So the third stage that you go through once you're like targeted by conspiracy theorists is indignation. Now, I'm a strong believer and defender of free speech. Hell, my whole profession as a journalist depends on freedom of speech. It is one of the most valuable rights that we all possess, and we really need to take action that nobody takes that away from us. But slandering, harassing innocent people online and offline, that has nothing to do with freedom of speech. I mean, this is personal. This is as personal as it can get. You can destroy lives with that. Now, I turned to Facebook and to Google, the parent company of YouTube, and I told them, look, there are like hundreds of videos floating your network. This cannot be something yet that you had up on your mind when you established those platforms, right? So please, remove them. Well, guess what? They didn't. Deliberately said, no, we're not going to do that. Because for Facebook and Google and platforms like that, there's only one religion, and that is scale, scale, scale. Like grow more and more audience. And my family and I just happen to be collateral damage. So the most depressing moment for me actually was when the powers that be at my work said, well, Richard, that was great reporting that you did that day in Nice and later in Munich. We had great ratings on our television station. But whatever happened to you after that, that has actually nothing to do with us. That was the moment maybe when I broke. When I fell into a deep depression, when I asked myself, what does words like good and bad, wrong and right actually mean anymore in this society? And I needed really good reasons these days in the morning to find a reason actually to get up in the morning. Now, right when I was thinking about even quitting my job and canceling and erasing all my social media accounts, all of a sudden a message appeared on my computer screen. And it read, "Hello, Richard. My name is Lenny. I saw the online chatter on YouTube about you, and I feel for you, because I've been there." 5 years ago, Lenny lost his 6-year-old son, Noah, at the Sandy Hook school shooting in Newton, Connecticut. That day, a lone gunman killed 20 elementary school kids, ages 5 and 6, and 6 teachers. Ever since then, Lenny and the other parents get harassed by despicable rumors and harassments. People, so-called hoaxers, say this school massacre never took place, that this was all a setup, a staged event, that his son actually never existed, that his son actually is just an actor. Lenny and I, we talked many, many times online, and he told me about the so-called truthers, the so-called hoaxers, people who get a kick out of it to have that power over other people, and who actually also get paid for their work by YouTube. Now, Lenny told me, look, Richard, you can either continue whining or you start to get back on your feet and start fighting. It's going to be hard, it's going to be long, it's going to be painful, but you can actually do something against it. And so I did. Not only I took one lawyer, I took 2 lawyers, and from that day on, they took care of Facebook and of Google. So we keep on telling them this is wrong, we have this court order. So we're really a pain in the neck. And you know what? It feels really good to have somebody speaking up for you, finally. But that is not the whole deal. You know what does feel even better? To get yourself out of your misery, to actually find your voice again and come to a place like this. And finally, here I am speaking about my last year in public, and I feel very thankful for TEDxMarrakesh. I feel very humbled to be here. I feel alive. Thank you. Despite all the pain, all the tears, all the discussions that my family and I had gone through throughout the last year, here's some lessons that we've learned. First, be alert. Anyone, I mean it, any one of you can become a target of a conspiracy theory at any time over anything. Yeah, it's not just politicians, it's not just actors or journalists. Like, we all are celebrities online, and we're all facing the same threats. Second, yes, expect the worst from people. Now, I know the internet is a miraculous thing. It's beautiful. It's connecting people, brings out the best of us, but it also does the opposite. But don't give up your belief in humanity just yet. Because, yes, it's true, people can be despicable, horrifying, and nasty, but they can also surprise you at any time. So accept the help that is coming from places you didn't even know from. 4, don't expect the cavalry to come to your rescue. Meaning, just because you spend so much time at your work, you devote so much time at your working place, when things go bad and people do not benefit from you, your employer will actually drop you like a hot potato. Just have that on your mind. So, better seek new allies. And it's funny, like the institutions that I never ever trusted and had believed in actually were, my biggest supporters, such as police officers, lawyers, and, believe it or not, an insurance company. Yeah, in Germany you can actually buy litigation insurance. That is, they cover all your legal fights. They pay your lawyers and the courts to sue your adversaries. So this comes in really, really handy. 6, be prepared ahead of time. Once the shit hits the fan, you better have done your homeworks, meaning you better look out for a good lawyer and a therapist before you need them. Because at the mental stage that you're in, when everybody's just shouting at you, you have no energy for doing proper research. 7. Now, this is going to be a hard one, I know, because actually I just want to love everybody and I want everybody to love me, but this one is really important. That is maybe the toughest lesson I had to learn. Show no mercy. Identify the pack leaders, like the worst of the scum out there, and hit them fast, hit them hard, and hit them with everything you got. Why? Because others will notice. 8, be patient. Legal fights, they can take months, even years. So just remember yourself, you're in here for a marathon. Now, point number 9, actually, my lawyer asked me to slip in, and, well, here it is. Choose your opponents wisely. So, if you get insulted, my lawyer says, please make sure that you only get insulted by rich, wealthy people, because you can actually sue a fortune out of them, and your lawyer, he or she, would be really happy for that because they usually work for a contingency fee. Maybe the most important lesson of them all is the next one. And this one took me a long time to realize, but it is oh so true. And it reads, it's not your fault. Like, there are times when you're like really miserable, really depressed, and you ask yourself, what did I do wrong? But here's the thing, there's nothing that you have done wrong. It's not about you. It's about them. And actually, it's about all of us as a society. So, We all possess a superpower to fight this. And here it is, empathy. To put ourselves in the shoes of one another and ask ourselves, how would I feel being in that very situation? Martin Luther King once said it very beautifully. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I think that is very true. I think we can all step up the game and don't leave the internet to the bullies. I don't want this to become the new normal, and we all have the powers to prevent that from happening. We just need to learn to speak up and taking care for one and another. So in the beginning I said this is a story about the internet, but that actually isn't true. This is not about the internet. This is not about technology. This is about everyone. This is about you and me, all of us. This is our story. Let's make it count. Thank you. Thank you.